Hello again, this is Steph, and this is my second video in my little attempt to get everybody who is currently at home, stuck in their little isolation, to be a little bit creative. Thank you for all of the responses I've had so far for the first video that I posted yesterday. Thank you to all the comments that I've had. Thank you for people who have had a go, shared me their work. Do keep them coming. I will continue to stick them on my Facebook page. And thank you to all the people that have shared my videos, much appreciated. So video number 2. Before I start, a few eagle-eyed viewers may have noticed something a little bit different from the video I posted yesterday. Firstly, things have kind of swapped around a little bit. I spent ages today working out how to stop my videos being backwards, and it's partly because I'm using a front-facing camera and it flips everything. So I'm not left-handed, I am right-handed. I've not completely changed my room around, so things should be normal today. And the other little change today is I have Sawyer with me today, who, much like most other kids in the country, is at home, homeschooling, so today's little art lesson is with me. And most people that know me will know that, I don't know, artistically, I have a few things that I like. I love to draw. Portraits are a particular favourite of mine, but one of my big loves is collage. That is what I'm going to do today. Possibly the next few videos that I post may be a little bit more heavy on the drawing side, but just for now, no drawing required. So, collage. I do all kinds of collage, as lots of people that know me are aware. I started making things a little bit like this quite a long time ago. And I've made millions of them. They're all plastered all over my website if anybody's interested. We're going to give something like this a go today. And as I said yesterday, I am conscious that not everybody is going to have the amount of art supplies that I have got. If I could spin this camera around, this little art room of mine is full of collage equipment. I've got magazines, books, all kinds of things. I know not everybody else has got that. So here's how we're going to make these. Let's hide those away. Come back to those. So the first thing that you're going to need to do, and I said this yesterday actually when we did the abstract art, I do want you to spend quite a lot of time doing this, and I think this is all the prep work that you need to do. And I would probably say that you would ideally need to spend more time with your prep work than you do actually making the actual collage. I need you to collect, and I need you to collect a big pile of interesting collage bits and pieces for you to play with and for you to create your artwork with. And I want you to have way too much, because again, I said this yesterday, it's always better to have too much stuff than it is to have too little. So you did the same this afternoon. How long did you spend collecting all your bits and pieces?
I don't know, I have like 15 minutes or something.
15? I'm thinking maybe longer than that.
20 minutes, 25 minutes, something like that.
You need to spend way longer than that.
Why?
Yeah, right. Things that I use to make my collages. I have loads of fashion magazines, nice to use, nice glossy images, quite nice text as well in there. I also, National Geographic magazines, great to use with collage because you get a whole variety of images in there. Yeah, you never know quite what you're going to expect to see in a National Geographic magazine. I also have lots of sort of old music sheet books. I am aware that not everybody's going to have these. I do, so I've used some today. I also love to use books also. I tend to get given a lot of my collage things, or I even raid antique shops, charity shops. This, ironically, is a little medical book of symptoms, quite topical at the minute. So I do use things like this. The other thing that I think are great for collage are maps. I don't know, they're just something that people don't tend to use anymore, so things like this are lovely. And what I want you to do is, ideally, it'd be better if you didn't have too much of a plan to start with. And I know some of you may struggle with that, because some people like to know exactly what they're going to do right from the beginning. And a lot of the times I do, but when I make these, I don't. All I do is I just pick up a magazine or a book, and I start flicking through the pages, and anything that particularly grabs me, anything that I'm interested in, I will usually rip the page out and I'll start to make a pile of collage bits and pieces. And it could be anything. It could be a particular image that I like. It could be a nice bit of text. You just need something to spark you off, and it'll be awful to start with, because the first 5 minutes are really bad, because you don't quite know what you're doing and you don't know where you're going. Once you get into the swing of it, it gets a lot better. And I do want you to spend a lot longer than this person did, way more than 20 minutes. So to save a bit of time, I've collected all my bits and pieces, which I'll show you. I'll run through all the things that I've got. So I'm just going to give those to Sawyer. There you go, just in case you need any more bits and pieces. And right, I have collected loads. You'll have enough to make hundreds of collages. I'll start with the text actually, because when I was looking through the magazines, I found lots of lovely bits of text. This sort of bit of text said, "After the last customers had wiped," appealed to me. I don't know why. And then what I would can't speak. What would be nice to do as well is, you know, if you find something, have a look what's on the back of it, because I quite like that. It said Orion Nebula. When I flipped it over, there was a lovely little bit of text here, and it says Cartwheel Galaxy, and it just made me smile, because we've got a friend of ours who probably is watching this right now, who just lives to cartwheel, and that's probably where she comes from. So this is for you, Mel. So I am going to use that. I've got loads of text. I've got, this is off dressmaking pattern, which, I mean, they're printed on this really beautiful tissue paper, and I just love the random text that you get on dressmaking patterns as well. And because it is tissue, it will go quite transparent as well when I glue it on, so that may go on. I'd found an old bit of tape measure. I did also, I've got a little book page here from Alice in Wonderland, which is, you know, one of my favourite books. I might use bits of this. So I've got a big pile of text, which I'll put one side. Images. I quite like to put people in my collages. You'll notice if you go on my website, most of my collages tend to have figures in them. You'll also notice that with some of these, I have started to cut them out. Because what I generally do is I generally stick these on quite near the end, and I like them to stand out, which is why I have, you know, I have cut these figures out. And some of them might be quite fiddly to cut out. I've had that image for ages and I'm desperate to use it. Whether it goes on here today, who knows. I might give it to you, Sawyer, yeah. I also, right, I was given a lot of old photographs recently. I've no idea who that person is, and I've no idea how old it is either. It's a beautiful photograph. Again, I might use it, I might not. And then again, another old sort of dressmaking pattern with that lovely illustration on the front. And I particularly like some of these figures, so one of these may go in. Again, it may not. I usually stick a few bits of architecture in my collages also, and again, with a lot of those I will cut them out. Much like the figures, it gets them to stand out quite nicely. So I've collected a few of these. They won't all go on because there won't be room. And finally, as I started to collect all of my bits and pieces, what I usually do, and I mentioned this yesterday with the abstract video, is I think this sort of stuff works better if you do limit your colours a little bit. And I know with collage that can be quite hard. I say this an awful lot when I teach collage, and most people that come to my classes will be very familiar with me saying this because I say it all the time. It is like being a kid in a sweet shop, because you're just wanting to grab everything, and it can be quite hard to stop yourself doing that. When I was collecting a lot of my bits and pieces, I did notice that a few of the things were more on the sort of blue spectrum, so I started to limit what I was collecting, and I have sort of limited the colours and have gone with a very sort of blue theme. So I found some blue tissue paper, which is nice to use. I've got lots of sort of very big images. I mainly picked them out just because of the colour, because I thought it would fit in with a lot of the things that I was doing. Again, a nice bit of map that had a lot of blue on there. So lots, way too much stuff. What I then do is I sift through all of the things that I've got, because one of the problems that you'll get is, you know, if you've got a big mountain of collage bits and pieces, you should have way too much stuff to make your artwork. It will get a little bit overwhelming, and what you need to do, and I'm hoping you're doing this as well, Sawyer, sift through what you've got and start to put things in little piles, things that you like the most, things that you do like but they're not as important as the really important things, and then things that you don't mind if they get ripped up and if they get covered up. And again, I have started to do that because most of these things are things that I don't mind using right at the start, because a lot of the things I put down right at the start will get covered up and I won't really get to see too much of them. But I don't mind with a lot of this stuff. So that's that bit. I'll now get to actually putting the collages together. Right, I've stuck an easel up here today because I was hoping that you might be able to see this a bit better. Generally I do these flat, so it is going to be a little bit tricky doing this upright, but we'll give it a go. I have my scissors, I have a glue stick, and the only other thing you need is a bit of paper to do this on. I think when I very first started making these, I stumbled upon the sort of square format, and it just seemed to work for me. So I do make an awful lot of these square. Again, you can do these bigger, you can do them smaller. You know, you can go quite tiny if you wanted to. Little can be quite nice. But just for now, we're going to stick to this square bit of paper. And it, much like yesterday, it is just an ordinary bit of paper because I'm collaging onto it, so it doesn't need to be fancy, expensive paper. So I am going to start with my sort of pile of random things. And all I'm going to do is I want to get rid of this scary white background as quickly as possible, because what I don't want to do is instantly grab my lovely kind of important things and start to stick them on, because they'll just look a little bit lost and a bit boring on there. So I do like to build up quite a few layers of background before I start to fiddle about with the actual collage. So we're going to go in, and I tend to rip initially. Towards the end I will cut. So let's just go for it. So let's stick that way across there. You still with me, Sawyer?
Yeah.
Good.
Got in my box.
Right. Again, I think I said this yesterday, if you've not got glue sticks, PVA will do the job. You will also notice that I'm sort of going over the edge, but I tend to trim them afterwards. And let's have a little bit more of this one. I don't really want that big chunky piece, so we'll go smaller. That's quite nice. Oh, actually, see, I was just about to stick this on like this. I've gone to glue it down. It's got that lovely thing on the back. Do I like that better? I think I do, so I'm going to glue it the other way around. See that? Prefer that to that.
I like that.
Yeah.
Can I just coin them up?
Of course you can. So we'll go that way. I think what I might do is, let's get a bit of tissue in here as well. I think if you have got any coloured tissue, if you've got any of the lovely pale colours, they're beautiful to use because they are so transparent. What I tend to do with the tissue is I tend to add the glue onto here rather than on here, because it just gets to be a real mess of sticking glue on here. So I'm going to stick some tissue right across here. And we'll just go like so. We'll rip that bit off. And I'm not really thinking about what I'm doing initially. All I'm doing is, as I say, I'm just trying to get rid of, maybe not all of this white paper, because already I'm liking some of these negative spaces that I've got. But I just want to build up an initial layer to make my collage a lot more interesting. So I have got on here, I've got the word beautiful, which I should have saved this, because at the beginning of the week on my Facebook page I set everybody a little challenge to make a bit of artwork inspired by the word beauty. I could have used this. So we'll put the word beautiful in there, but it may get covered up at the end.
What do we need this for again?
Oh, I've not got to that bit yet. Right, we'll stick that over there. I'll do a bit more. Right, let's get a little bit of map in here, just because the map works quite nicely. So I'll have a bit of map down there. I might stick a little bit of map in there. Oh, and I get really funny about things being the right way up as well. So I nearly put that upside down. That would have annoyed me enormously. So I am going to make sure that things go the right way up, but it doesn't have to. So we'll stick that in there. And we'll go, yeah, we'll go down there. Or shall I go there? I'm going to break that big shape up by sticking it in the middle. Like so. And what I think I do, I think I might need to put something down the bottom, because I've got a big empty white space down there. I mean, when I do mine, I do tend to do them in a certain style, so I do know that the bottom area tends to get filled an awful lot with mine. So I do know that most of this shape that I'm sticking in will disappear. But I just wanted something other than a big scary white space. It's always cracking on already.
Yeah.
She's good. Oops. Right, I'm going to go back in with a bit more tissue as well. Let's go up there with a bit of that. Already got tissue stuck on my fingers. And we'll fill that space. I've not put enough glue down there, so we'll pop a bit more underneath. Like so. And I think ideally I might spend a little bit more time building that up, but I don't really want these videos to last for hours. Sometimes what I do is I flatten this a little bit, and the way and I know that sounds a bit weird because it is flat, but there's a danger sometimes that if you just keep throwing more and more things at your collage, everything just gets a bit overwhelming. It's all a little bit too busy and complicated. So to tone it down a little bit, what I sometimes use is a bit of paint. I usually use acrylic paint. I won't do it on this one because it won't dry in time, but I'll do it on one that I've got prepared. If it's here, please be here. If not, we're in a bit of a mess. Where's it gone?
What?
Oh, it's down here. So assuming that I've just done exactly the same as I've done here, and I've done it on here. So with this one, all I was doing was I was just getting rid of that to just create a background. And when I put the paint on, what I do is, and this may be quite tricky to do vertically, but again, we'll give it a go. You can stick the paint on with a brush if you wanted to. I'm just going to add a little bit of paint onto here, and I don't want to add too much. So we'll stick a few little blobs of paint. And one of my old credit cards. And what I do is I scrape the paint really thin. And the thinner that you scrape the paint, I can do this vertically, the thinner that you scrape the paint, because it's acrylic, it will make it go quite transparent. And there might be certain bits of your background that maybe you do want to cover up. There'll be bits that you don't want to cover up. So let's stick a bit more, because I don't really want to cover this area up too much. So I would possibly avoid that. Like so. Getting in a mess now. And I do this technique if things are getting a little bit busy. There's a couple of things that I need to say, just because I am conscious that there might be lots of people accessing these videos. There might be adults from my classes, there might be kids at school. If you are like a kid at school that's accessing these, please don't raid your mum or dad's credit card before you do that. And also, collage equipment as well. I mentioned the fact that I use books and things like that. You know, don't grab any book off the bookshelf and start ripping pages out, because I might get lots of angry comments then. Obviously, if you are going to add paint to it, which, you know, I've done the acrylic on here, that will take a little bit of time to dry. That's why I wasn't going to do it on there, because it would mean that we'd just be sat here twiddling our thumbs waiting for paint to dry. So I will chuck that one on the floor, and I'll go back to this one. So once I've done my background, what I then tend to do is I start to possibly make a little bit of a second background, knowing that some of the things may stay there, some of them may get covered up. And what I might do with this is I might dip into a bit of the music that I've got, just because I think that would be quite nice. So again, I'm not really thinking too much at this point. I am just creating a nice little background. There will be bits of it as you're doing this that you're probably liking more than others, and it's the bits that you like the least that you tend to work on more. So, you know, I like this map here. I don't really want to cover all of that, and that would do. So let's just rip this a bit smaller. How are we doing, Sawyer?
Good.
Good.
Plenty of upside down words.
No. No. Uh-oh. Didn't mean to rip that off. Right, so I'm going to stick that there. That seems to fill that little space quite nicely. A bit of glue would help. Let's have a little bit more. I'm tending to go quite vertical on this one. I don't know, I could go quite radical, stick something vertical in it. So let's do it. Quite like that. Should I have a bit more or too much? So he says a bit more. So a bit more it is. I am still ripping at this point. I will swap and I will start cutting quite soon. Right, which side do I like the best? Probably that one. Now, where's that one going to go? I don't know. Quite like it up there actually. But it was upside down. Can't have that. So we'll stick that up there. I know this may sound a little bit strange, but I love that little negative white space that it's left at the top. I might do a few more little things. What to do. So I could cut that out, but I don't know. Don't know. Oh yeah. See, it's great having Sawyer here because he gives me sweets. Yum. But that means I can't talk. Right, let's go a bit of this. Okay.
Started it thinking my colour scheme was going to be orange.
And then it's changed.
It's not at all orange.
No. Okay. The reason I'm ripping initially, and again this probably says an awful lot about me, I love to see ripped edges of magazines and papers, and I know that that gets really tricky when you've got fiddly little things, you just can't rip them out, so that is when I stick them down, but I do love a ripped piece of paper. So we'll stick this down here, and I'm quite happy with that. I'm toying with the idea of maybe running a bit more tissue down here, just to break that little shape up a bit. So I will. So we'll go all the way down there. And as I've got a tiny bit more tissue left, do I break that up as well? Yes, I do. And we'll go along there, like so. So there you go. I mean, that I would say is sort of background number 2. Sometimes I keep going, I stick a third layer on, but there does come a point where you want to stick your exciting things on here, which I will start to do. So I'm going to make a little bit of space here, if I can. That's looking good, Sawyer. You've got interesting things to put on yours. Good. When you get to all of you sort of nice, interesting things, maybe things that you've cut out quite nicely. And again, I said this yesterday, what I don't want you to do, I probably will have to do this because of time constraints, but what I don't want you to do is I don't want you to make instant decisions about where things are going to go and just glue them and stick them on. Because, you know, if you change your mind, if I was to stick this right here and then maybe in 20 minutes time think, you know, and I've got this chap here and I think actually that would have been great behind there. You have such a limited amount of time, especially with these glue sticks, to peel things off. So I usually spend quite a bit of time on this next stage, because I do put things on and I'll play around with them and I'll just see what visually works well, you know, what is too big, what is too small, what doesn't go with what. And this is why I do these flat, because you know, I'm having to hold all these things on at the minute. So please, please, please spend a bit of time changing your mind, play around with it before you stick. Having said all that, I'm going to do the complete opposite now and just dive in and stick. So I do want that to go on because I've been itching to use this for ages, but I will want something behind there. So whether he goes on, I don't know. Some of the things I've got will be too large. Sometimes you can have a section of them. You know, I could trim that. So, you know, my Mad Hatter could be maybe in that corner. I could stick it there with that behind, but then that hides the teacup. So, or I think, well, let's save this for a rainy day, or give it to Sawyer to use. Maybe. If you don't, I will desperately use it. I mean, this is another image that I cut this out, God, years ago. I've been desperate to use it. It fits in with my colour scheme. Today might be the day that I finally get to use this image. That works quite nicely there.
I'll be back in a sec. I'm just getting a drink.
Okay. So, do I have that there? I do need to make decisions at some point. That might be too busy. No, I quite like that. Right, decisions have been made. Do I go that one? No, I've decided. If I do this quick enough, then I might have time to peel things away. Because, yeah, I'm thinking I might need something down the back of there. See, that's something I've literally just found. I really like that. I like that a lot. So that is now coming away. And I'm going to go in with that instead. So there we go. Shall we go to the, yeah, we'll go to the top. If I just stick that down loosely, I can always get a bit of glue and stick that down again. The bit I've trimmed off, I quite like that as well. Do I stick that in? Let's go that way. So again, I said this yesterday as well, don't throw any bits away. You will find a use for them, even if it's a random little discarded piece of paper. That's very nice, that. Here was my lovely little blue lady that I've had for ages. She can go on. Noisy glue. Soy's back with refreshments. Okay. So I can stick that maybe there. Do I want anything here? Possibly. I'm gonna put bits of text in as well. I might fill little spaces in with the text. There was one thing that I did want to use, which I'll probably never be able to find it again now. Oh, there we go. I think yesterday when I was doing my abstract piece, I said I was in quite a circular mood. I'd found these lovely, I don't know what they are, little circular diagrams of a glacier or something like that. I do like to put circles in my work. I always have done. So we'll stick this one in here. And this isn't the most accurately cut out circle I've ever done. There was also right, I quite liked her with the little balloon. I didn't know whether to stick her in or not. I wondered about replacing the balloon with something like that as well. So I'll try and cut her out very quickly. I should try not to rip her up as well. Right, do I keep the dog in there as well? I will for the time being. It can always go at a later date. There's no way I can cut out the string of a balloon, so we'll do that separately. I could even draw it in with a pen actually. Right, let's very speedily cut out this person. Thankfully it's not too fiddly. The feet are though. You've gone very quiet, Sawyer.
Yes.
And one more leg. Yeah, it's getting fiddly now. Right. I'm very tempted to chop this dog off.
Sounds really bad.
Does the dog go in? You know what? I don't want the dog in there. Dog's going.
Let me see the dog.
It's on the floor. I know.
Oh, I could have used it.
I'm amazed our dog hasn't barked yet.
No.
It was quite vocal yesterday.
He's sat right outside.
Okay, so nearly there. This is why I pre-cut a lot of my shapes, because I'm guessing this isn't the most exciting thing to watch on YouTube right now.
It's thrilling.
And I think the fact that this little image that I'm cutting out now comes from, I don't know the exact date of it, but it's quite an old dressmaking pattern, and I love anything that's got any age to it, especially sort of magazines or books, things like that, just because the colours they use, I don't know, you don't tend to get things like that in modern magazines anymore. So she could go here. I could just leave it like that. Whether I stick that in as a makeshift balloon, I don't know. Whether I even fiddle about with a balloon, I don't know. I might not. I'm going to stick that in. I'm going to stick that in just there, just because it fills a nice little space.
I don't want to put my panda.
Well, play about with it, Sawyer. Try it in a few different places before you decide. What I might just have to put a bit of glue down here just to stick that down, because I think I have decided on that.
Where's the fox gone?
Oh, and have you lost it?
Better not.
That wasn't even stuck down. That's quite a bonus. Right, do we go that one? I'm changing my mind now, you see. Quite like her there. I prefer her there. So let's stick this fiddly little shape down. I don't think I need the end bit, so I'll rip that off. And I might be quite close to finishing, but there is one last little thing I need to put in, because I did say I was going to right at the beginning, and that was the only decision I made right at the beginning. That can go there. She can fill that little space. It even looks like she's standing on that little mound of snow there. That's quite fortuitous. So she can go there, like so. Bless you. Bless you. That's peeling away. Right, I need to go to my text. I want some text in here. I hope I've not lost it. Right, here's my text. I found some lovely text printed on tissue paper. I did wonder about sticking that in there. I might do. That can go there.
Where my panda's going.
You decided?
Yes.
Good. This was from the dressmaking pattern that says sleeve A or C. And I do really like that. And I think I like it there where it was initially. So that can go down there. And I think the reason why I liked it here is just because it overlaps that shape I put down about 5 minutes ago. Because it's transparent, it doesn't obliterate what's underneath it as well. And here we go, Cartwheel Galaxy, just for Mel. Where to put that? I think I only want those words. I don't want all that. I don't want the description underneath. I know that is going to be quite tiny text. It's quite fiddly to rip. That is looking good, Sawyer. Right, I know you can't see what Sawyer's creating right now, but I will stick finished pictures up of both of these. I just need to work out where this is going to go. Obviously it's printed on dark paper, so I do want it to stand out. That's why I'm thinking maybe up there. It fits quite nicely in that little space. And let's go right up to the edge with that one, like so. And I'm nearly done. Nearly done. What I where have they gone? What I started doing on a lot of my collages, just to finish them off, is I started to put a few little really thin, tiny white strips of paper in, and what I found that did is because I was just using white paper, what I was doing is I was adding negative space to my collages. So if things were getting too busy, adding bits of white, even if it's just plain bits of white ripped paper, or you know, really insanely fiddly cut bits of paper like this, it just calms things down a little bit. And looking at this one right now, I think I probably need to do that down the bottom because it's a little bit full on and heavy. So I'll have a look what I've got and I'll just show you. So I mean, this, I don't know what this is, an old circuit diagram for something. Obviously there's a big white space on this bit of paper, so I'm just going to rip a little section of it off. I don't want too much white in there. And I may stop after doing this. I might fiddle a little bit after I've stopped filming, but I am pretty close to finishing this. I just wanted you to show what difference this makes. So, I mean, it just breaks that shape up a lot. So let's stick it on.
Why does that remind me of the TARDIS?
Because of those doors or windows.
Yeah.
Much like earlier, I was going to stick this on like this. I've just flipped it over and there's a little bit of that circuit diagram on the back. I much prefer that. And it's not too bright or colourful, so it's not going to interfere with anything. I like that a lot. So before I put that down and lose it, because there's all kinds of mess in here right now, I'm going to stick and like so. So I really don't know whether that probably won't go in now. I'll just save that for another thing. So there you go. That's how I make my collages. Give it a go, and just as I said yesterday, if you do find me on Facebook, and again I'll stick the link right down there, upload your images. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will post some more later in the week. Alright then, bye bye, and now let's always say bye also.
Goodbye.
Bye bye.